think we all met towards the beginning of the year, and we noticed there were some gaps in our students and in their learning. So we decided we needed to kind of backtrack from there and start with standards that were from kindergarten and first grade. We're second grade teachers, by the way.
I think even starting as far back as last year for me, I was more married to like a resource. Knowing that we had kind of picked a resource as a district and thinking that that was the end all be all. And then, like as Amy said, as we kind of started looking through everything and started saying, oh my goodness, there are these really big gaps. You know, how are we going to serve all of our kids, understanding how diverse our population is?
Yeah, and I think the challenge moving forward was just looking at a plan for addressing the needs of all of our students and how the three of us could really attack that, teaching second grade standards, but also meeting their needs and filling in the gaps. And so that kind of started our journey, moving towards the structure of looking at how to fill in the gaps, but also moving forward with their learning for second grade. And that really we kind of sat down together and really tried to look at how could we meet the needs of all learners, but also continue moving forward.
And knowing that engagement was going to be huge for our population, and knowing that a whole group or even just a small group setting wasn't going to be everything that they needed to stay engaged.
Yeah, we actually started out the year using a resource and trying large group instruction, and we found that our students were not as engaged as we would have liked them to be, partially because they didn't all come with the same understanding of the concepts, and also because they just needed something more engaging. And so, you know, we kind of did a lot of trial and error with some different structures and found that we needed something different to serve the needs of our students.
And it's hard to be engaged when you're at a frustration level because you're being taught something you're missing so many steps before to be able to master that.
Yeah, and I think we all, like the three of us, had such a good grasp on what it meant to look as universal design for our kids was not going to look what you traditionally think universal design would look like when it comes to even as much as socio-emotional needs to working together to working independently through all those steps.
Yeah, we really needed an approach that would meet the needs of all of our students.
Being married to the resource, there was kind of a traditional structure that followed along with it. So it was the kind of fluency that was whole group, and then whole group instruction, then that gradual release of responsibility, then it was the guided practice, and then it was the independent practice, and if you didn't get it, then it looked like you were practicing at home or that wasn't happening. And so it was more of your traditional kind of model that we do in other subjects. And so then this year, once we decided that we had to do something, we couldn't just continue, then we changed our thinking to putting more emphasis on the learning target, what they actually needed to know, and then thinking about our kids and how they were going to learn it and how they were going to be able to show their learning. And we knew it wasn't going to be in that traditional instruction assessment format.
We've all used differentiation. We've all differentiated for our students in the past, but this was even more powerful because they were taking more responsibility for their own learning. And rather than us solely guiding that, they were taking on more responsibility with determining when they felt ready to show their growth and to show their mastery of a concept. And so really giving them an opportunity to gain that learner agency and really build that, I guess, and have that desire is really powerful. And we saw that from a lot of our students this year. And that was really powerful and fun to hear them have those conversations with one another and celebrate their growth and celebrate success, and to be able to build that and watch that throughout the year has been really powerful for them, with tracking and seeing their progress and really keeping track of that for themselves has been, I think, a big motivator as well, which the engagement piece that we mentioned earlier, not only having engaging activities and structures in place, but also the self-engagement with regard to seeing their progress and seeing their growth has been huge for them.
So to give like an idea of the overall structure that we're using now to do all of that, it starts more with us not being the keeper of the knowledge and the students being the keeper of the knowledge and their progression. So it started with just looking at a progression. What do second graders come in knowing, and then how are they going to move through the content of those essential standards? And so, through work with our instructional coach, she had already created a progression for us, and so we gave that to our students. We handed them the standards, and we gave that to them, and we put it in their hands. They each had a folder where they kept that information, and then through that progress, we just kind of started. We started with a pre-assessment, and they were really huge pre-assessments, it felt like, and it had all the standards we were going to be looking to move forward through. And then we just took that data, and that's how we grouped kids. It was no longer we were using the standards to guide the instruction, we were using the students to guide how the standards were taught. And so then through small group instruction, based on that individual learning target the student was working on, they kind of get to triple dip. So they dip with us, and we get that instruction based on the standard. Then the second dip is they have voice and choice in their math menu, where they get to scan and pick an appetizer or an entree, which is a game or a video that's instructing on the same target. And then they kind of get to triple dip again when they show what they know, because then we immediately are giving feedback through Seesaw, whether they're still missing the target or they've got it, and then that cycle just continues until the student performs mastery.
But not only are the students taking ownership of their learning, but they're also taking ownership in being the teacher and guiding the other kids in their class. There's the excitement in their eyes and their voice, and to show someone if someone's struggling on something, they've noticed it, they want to jump in and teach them. So it's not just them just doing the work and showing an answer, it's them showing how to get to the answer, and they've been able to show it to not just us, but to their parents when they post it on Seesaw, but then to their friends also.
And I think the way it's broken down, it gives all kids an opportunity to be successful. And I think that is huge for some of our kids who really struggle, because they don't have to be good at math. They can be good at parts of math and then grow and get better and get stronger. And they can see those steps and those progressions, and they can see themselves getting stronger and getting better, and that gives them that hope. Whereas maybe before they were just like, I'm bad at math, and then they just give up and they don't try. And that's been huge. I've specifically watched students who in the past have not been successful see success this year, and that success has then empowered them to continue to work and continue to grow and to continue to try, and that try piece is huge, for them, and that will hopefully transfer, as the year goes on and continue into next year for them. And so I think just seeing that student success piece is just really powerful for them and powerful for me, and just has really changed the way I look at instruction with math.
Figuring out where the kids were and how far back we had to go, and then being able to let go of that piece of we're second grade teachers, this is what we have to get through for the year, but realizing that you can't get to that end point if they're missing these skills that from before, and just being able to scaffold that. That was a challenge, I think, for all of us, is just realizing that it's okay to start at kindergarten standards or first grade standards, these targets, and then work their through. And realistically, that's what they need to be beneficial. It's not going to work starting with something that they don't know and they're missing the beginning skills.
I think another challenge has just been the time constraint. It's very time consuming, and we've put a lot of time and a lot of work into gathering resources and just managing the structure. I also know that just for myself, there have been times which isn't a bad thing, but when kids are showing growth at a rapid pace, keeping up with changing groups and structuring those groups to fit all students. There have been times where I've had the structure of 4 groups moving, and then I've got a kid over here that doesn't fit. And so where do I put that student when I'm looking for that time to work with that kid? And it's just a constant movement, a constant looking at the data and looking at their growth, and really trying to make sure that I'm meeting them where their need is. And that's not a bad thing, but it does require more work on our part. But it is powerful to see that the structure works and that it's impacting the kids in such a positive way. And so I think that those are definitely challenges that I haven't faced quite as frequently or as often in the past, but they're good challenges to have.
I think the other really large challenge was when it comes to thinking about diving into open resources. When you think about those OER resources, where do you find OER resources that are second grade appropriate, that match the standard that you're looking for, that will work on your network, that will work on the student device, that will work when it's raining outside or it's Wednesday.
Yes.
Like just all of the pieces that go into finding a true open resource that you don't have to have a membership for, that your kids don't have to subscribe to, that doesn't have ads, that's safe. It was just extremely time consuming, and that kind of ties back to Jill's piece of how much time it takes. But to truly sort through for 8 essential standards and find multiple options to still keep students engaged by having voice and choice that are appropriate for what you're seeking. As an entire second grade holistically, we've had such huge success. When we sat down that first week in September and we looked at our formative data point, just the first data point we had it for every second grader, and I think our hearts stopped. We were like, whoa!
Yep, little bit of nerves and tears.
I know in my experience, I've never seen a group come in so low. And so then when we took that same data point just a few weeks actually into this process and we saw a year and a half growth, we did that same thing. Whoa! No, it's not where we wanted to see them by the end of second grade, but to know mid-year that it was already making so much progress, it was a huge success. And as we're sitting now being able to review every second grade standard and they're fluent and they know these things, it's just, I know that I feel like my second graders are going on to third grade as prepared as they possibly can be, and it's from our structure and everything that we've put in place and every trial and tribulation that got us here.
I think another success would be just the fact that this team of teachers, the 3 of us, came together and found a way to help students, to take a group of students where they were at and bring them up. And I think, that's always a goal of a teacher. It's always a goal of a team. It doesn't always happen. It rarely happens to where you feel really successful with that. And I think, we were able to collaborate effectively, and we were able to find a structure that worked, and we were able to meet the needs of our students. Mm-hmm. And I think we can all 3 sit here and say that was really effective.
Yes.
And
mm-hmm.
I think we're proud that we were able to take a group of students with a lot of behavioral needs, a lot of academic needs,
mm-hmm.
and feel really successful about the results that we have had with this structure. And I think that's probably the greatest success. And we've taken students that maybe hadn't seen success in the area of math, and now they're successful.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm proud.
they're proud of it, and that's
mm-hmm.
huge.
But at the beginning when I saw the scores, it was the pit in my stomach. I was in the pit, the learning pit, and I just didn't know what I was going to be able to do to get my students back out of it. And it's heart, like teary-eyed here. It's heartwarming to see that they have grown so much. And I feel like, at first it was like, oh, of course we'll try it, and now it's like, of course we tried it, and now look.
So many of our kids are we're redefining success. It doesn't look the same for every kid, and so we've got to do that for them, and they've got to do it for themselves, and it's huge.
And it's not just those strugglers, it's the kids that are high too, and that they get to learn at their level, and I've always been an advocate for that as well. And so to know that I'm meeting every student at their level is just profound. That's what I think every educator strives for, and it's not always possible, but in this structure it's possible, and I think that's so powerful. So.